Hello. Whoa. Too loud, too loud, too loud. 1 second, everybody. Hello and welcome to ThursdAI, everyone. This is Alex Volkov. Trying to set up the camera. It's hard to come back from vacation. Hey, everyone. How are you doing? Welcome to ThursdAI. What's up, Wolfram? Let's
Hey,
add you
man.
here. How are you
Welcome back.
doing? Thank you.
I'm doing
Thank you.
great. How have you been? I mean, you had a great
Cannot
time.
complain. Cannot complain. I just came back from vacation, everyone, and I'm excited to dive in to talk about this week's AI news because I was kind of like out. I tried to disconnect, and finally I'm back. Hopefully the microphone and everything is set up okay. Wolfram on your side as well, and
Yeah,
then
I hear myself somehow in the background. Is
ooh,
that possible?
yeah, let's see, folks
Some
who are
distorted
listening.
audio.
Can you hear echo? I just came back, so nothing is set up. So if something doesn't work, we're gonna take a second, and then we're gonna edit it out. So, folks who are listening and tuning in, welcome to ThursdAI. Thank you so much for coming. It was an exciting week for sure. And let's do a live test. If you are listening to this and you are hearing echo from us, please let us know because we would like to fix that so that we'll have a good show today. But once we get started, I think we're going to have an incredible time. A lot of open source today, Wolfram. A lot of open source this week. And
Definitely.
I'm excited to talk about.
Now on the mind of a lot of people because of some sudden incident. So I think there's renewed interest even more than before.
Yeah, I think let's start there, right? So last week we told you about Claude Fable, the Mythos level model that Anthropic finally decided to release after saying that Mythos is too dangerous to release. They decided to say, hey, we took everything we know about security and we talked to you guys here on ThursdAI about the restriction they added to the Fable. Actually used Fable. I have a picture, Wolfram, of me and my wife just fabling all the way to our vacation. Just like we didn't even go to sleep during the flight, 7-hour flight. We literally just like both of us work with Fable. And Fable was amazing. And the day after that, Fable was taken away from us. Just like that. The US government decided to tell Anthropic that it's too dangerous, and someone, and I think it was somebody from Amazon, showed the US government like a jailbreak. Did you see this, Wolfram?
Yeah.
And that caused the US government to actually tell Anthropic to stop releasing Fable for us.
At least not for non-Americans, basically. So that was the claim that they made. Do not make Fable or Mythos available to anyone who is not of US nationality, including even people working in Anthropic, even developers of the model themselves, were to be prevented from accessing their own model if they are not US Americans.
Just absolutely a crazy. I think it's the first time that the US government bans an AI thing. And I don't think it's the last time.
The legislation attempts we have seen in the recent times that they want a month to basically test the model before it is released. So this happened, of course, before this was implemented. And the question is, will we see even more advanced AI? I mean, that is the question on the mind of many people. Or if we see it, can it be removed at any time? What will you do if you depend on this?
I think that so last week on the show we talked about LTJ. You want to comment on this super quick before we jump in the TLDR, because I would love also to hear like from you on this topic. Just also make sure that you hear.
Yeah, I mean, just so many exciting things happened this week that I feel like almost Fable getting banned feels like it was like over a month ago. Like, but yeah, it's really exciting. And sorry, Fable getting banned, not necessarily exciting. I'm talking about the other things. But Fable being banned, that aspect is unfortunate. I think it comes back to this broader question we could talk about later, which is, will AI eventually become at a level of advancement where it's not allowed to regular people? And I think if it comes down to, hey, should it be disallowed to regular people or require some type of ID to access? I think most people would obviously pick the latter. Of course, they're both maybe things we wouldn't prefer, though. So we could talk about that later.
I expected to come to the show today, well rested after vacation, but I also expected to come here and talk about Fable just exclusively. Hey, Peter, welcome. And just exclusively talk about how cool is Fable. And I think so. We finished the show last week exactly. I think all of us got super excited and went to play with Fable. All of you listeners as well. And then my whole timeline is like Fable, Fable, Fable. I don't know if you guys had this experience as well. It's just like Fable pill timeline, 100%. Everybody was just like, "Holy crap, this model is something else." And then yoink, and then my whole timeline was so the rest of the week was like open source and stuff. But then my whole timeline was, what the fuck? The U.S. government decided to ban, Anthropic. There's I actually don't know how deep to go into this because like ThursdAI is not a political show. We try to kind of stay away, but now AI is so involved with politics, we essentially can't. U.S. government has a bunch of statements about the security, and we have a bunch of statements. At least I can tell you that when we talked about Mythos at first, Anthropic, used some very scary words to say how good Mythos is. Including mentioning that this is a weapons grade kind of like model and it's too dangerous to release. and then Anthropic is also, hey, US government should regulate. And then when they release a model, the US government regulates, Anthropic is like, oh no, it's yeah. Anthropic about this was crazy.
And although Anthropic has not been on the best of the standings of the US government because of the incident before where they tried to prevent the government from doing certain things with their models. And it was a big clash. We reported on this as well. So basically, maybe is that a kind of revenge act from the governments to?
I don't know, revenge or not revenge. There's definitely some words being said and some. I don't know. I know from Anthropic though, as far as reporting goes, earlier today somebody said from Anthropic that they expect that this model will be back at some point soon. So we're gonna wait, maybe today, hopefully today. We'll just say the Fable was incredible. Peter Gostov from Arena AI, welcome to the show. Thoughts on? We can dive in, but this is just like our early banter. Thoughts on the banning? Like, what you feel? Did you feel they took away a piece of, they let us have it for a little bit, and then the government took it away? What do you feel after that?
No, I still have some tests saved from the time when I was testing it, and I come back to it and it's like, man, that was good. That was something else.
That was a big one.
Yeah, you test other models now. It's like, oh yeah, that's a big gap. It's very unfortunate. Yeah, but I was trying to reflect. I think it's easy for us to kind of sit in our bubble and kind of say, well, it's clearly ridiculous. What is this even a jailbreak? And then like this is true, right? That's not really a jailbreak. You kind of study the code, at least from reporting. It was something like you can study the code and then you can kind of patch vulnerabilities, and therefore you can discover vulnerabilities. That's like what you expect the model to do. But then on the other hand, if you're just going to talk to like a normal person who has no idea about this, and then you keep saying, well, it's like a nuclear weapon and it's like going to kill everyone, take everyone's jobs. And then you say, okay, can you fix it then? I say, well, no, I can't. So then it's like, well, then maybe you shouldn't have it. So it's like, I know the logic steps are not quite exact there, but like at a very high level, you can kind of also see the reaction of like people outside of our bubble. I think it's just coming back to that. Like we need to be careful with our words, right? What kind of imagery we use, because I think that's not accurate. Like it's not a nuclear weapon.
Yeah.
It's just coming back to that. So hopefully they're just gonna kind of gain a bit more trust between each other, because I think probably what Anthropic is thinking is like, we are like the safest lab. How can we not be safe enough? Like, but maybe not safe enough. If it is a nuclear weapon.
The jailbreak itself that was reportedly identified by Amazon and shared with the U.S. government from Amazon, that's the reporting that I saw, at least. You guys let me know if you saw something else. Was about the model identifying some bugs in some code and like being asked to fix it. And it's not a generic jailbreak. And so Anthropic's response was, hey, this was not a generic jailbreak. It's not like somebody broke the whole model for us. It just, it's just like the very tiny one. And then the thing that I also saw is that U.S. government is like, hey, you can only release this when you patch all jailbreaks, and Anthropic is like, it's impossible to patch all jailbreaks. What are you talking about? This is not how jailbreak works. All right, so this is obviously the big thing that happened in the beginning. We're going to mention this. We're going to talk about this a little bit in depth afterwards. Big open source week, folks. We had 2 big model releases from kind of the main one of the leading Chinese labs. We had GLM 5.2, and then we have also Moonshot release Kimi K2.7 code. Both of them performing very, very well. And we almost got a fat cat. Did you guys see this? The meme of Le Chaton fat or Le Gros Chaton?
I tested it already on Wolfbench, and it was in the #1 spot, but I had to reject it. And
yeah, no Le Chaton fat for us. But it was a really funny meme. So I think worth jumping into the TLDR, and then we're gonna actually dive into open source first. Peter, you have some testing that you did, and then we'll talk about a bunch of stuff. We should also mention, we'll mention this in a second. Cursor finally except, or I guess SpaceX went IPO last week as well. Folks, it was an insane week. SpaceX went to the biggest IPO in the world. The reason why we're mentioning this on the show, not because we love space, I personally love space, it's because it's not just SpaceX anymore. It's SpaceX AI, because they grabbed space. They grabbed XAI and then X as well. And then SpaceX also acquired Cursor for $60 billion, making the 4 co-founders of Cursor all billionaires. Now I think Composer 2.5 is Grok Composer 2.5. I don't know if you guys saw this. They already rebranded. It's available in Grok build as well. So, big moves. Definitely SpaceX AI is now joining OpenAI, Anthropic, and those folks up there. And also Noam Shazir news. So a lot of news. I think worth going to TLDR, and then we'll cover open source. Let's do that. Alrighty, folks, let's do TLDR over show. TLDR is a segment on ThursdAI where we talk about everything that happened really quick, at least everything that's very interesting to us, so that you will not miss even one thing. And then we'll dive into the most important things and cover them at length. So today on the show with you, Alex Volkov, AI evangelist with Weights and Biases, and CoreWeave. I should update this. And then our co-host for today is Wolf from Ravenwolf, LDJ, and Peter Gostev. We need to update this as well. Peter Gostev from Arena. And we have guests today. So Dexter Horthy is going to join us today to talk about human layer, a relaunched human layer, and also the role of AI engineers in this world of slop. We also have 2 folks from Weights and Biases joining us, Adrian Swanberg and Chris Van Pelt, as we are launching something very cool from Weights and Biases that you all will definitely enjoy, I believe. So we'll talk about this as well. We may have Tarishk Abraham to talk about Midjourney in a second. He texted me, and I need to go and see what that text is about. Tarishk, if you're listening to this already, just text me on here. Just come on. Right. So in big company in LLM and API news, I think the big news from yesterday from OpenAI is Noam Shazir, one of the co-creators of the Transformers paper, one of the co-authors of the Transformers paper, the co-founder of Character AI, previously in DeepMind twice, I believe. Noam Shazir is joining OpenAI. I think this is big news. I don't know if there's a lot of details there to report, but Noam Shazir joining Noam Brown and becoming the Noamless, the Noam most frontier lab in the world. Noam Shazir joining OpenAI. I think it's huge news for everybody here. Very interesting that they have been able to convince him to work on something that he wasn't able to work on in Google. As we mentioned before, U.S. government orders Anthropic to shut down Fable 5 and Mythos 5 access to all foreign nationals, citing national security, causing Anthropic to close down access to everyone, not only all foreign nationals, citing that they cannot discern between foreign nationals and actual U.S. citizens. So this is like a weird standoff, right? Like nobody gets access to Fable 5. As far as I understand, inside Anthropic, people don't get access to Mythos as well. because of that order. So it's a very interesting order. We'll dive in there. I think it's a huge implication of that U.S. government is finally kind of like regulating AI in a very direct way, and some of it is very murky. It's really unclear that even Anthropic employees cannot access Mythos. SpaceX, like we said, acquires Cursor or Anysphere, I guess, in the Cursor product for $60 billion in all-stock deal. Obviously, SpaceX went to the largest IPO in the world last week as well. And so the genius math there is that SpaceX made so much money from the public market that this deal is barely a blimp on the radar. For everybody else, $60 billion is a huge amount of money. For SpaceX, given the $2 trillion bump valuation. This is almost nothing, and still SpaceX now has Cursor, and SpaceX obviously is the owner of xAI. I think those are the major news from Big Labs, folks. Any other major thing we should mention in Big Labs that is worth mentioning this week?
Actually, I was super excited to see the Codex announcement from OpenAI, that Codex is now fully available, not feature restricted in the EEA, so the EU, UK, and Switzerland, because we didn't have the memories, not the full memory feature, computer use, browser use. It's all available now. So while other things have been restricted, OpenAI has been opening up.
That is great news. I think I have it lower down there, but yeah, Codex and computer use also is now available in the EU with no restriction. We have Peter, you're in London, Wolfram, you're sitting in Germany. You guys are finally getting access to some of these tools. That's incredible. Let's move on to open source, and I think we had a very big week in open source, folks. GLM 5.2 drops as the strongest open source coding model with solid 1 million context in tokens in context. This is, I don't actually know the order of these folks, but you tell me what they're up first. But Moonshot AI also announces Kimi K2.7. I believe Kimi came out and then GLM came out. Just a few days in between them, right? Kimi K2.7 code, 1 trillion MOE coding model with 30% fewer reasoning tokens and big benchmark jumps. And then GLM 5.2 comes, and GLM 5.2 takes number 1 on design arena, open source, that is now, I think, beating Fable in making websites. This is absolutely crazy. It's not like I can run GLM 5.2 on my home computer because it's a 1 trillion parameter model, but I don't think that we've ever had open source matching like frontier labs in design, and I'm really interested in testing this out. So Peter, you tested some of these models out, at least Kimi K27, but also GLM 5.2. So we'll definitely chat about this. I'm very excited to see how they perform. So we got Fable yanked away, but open source delivers. This is the type of week that we have, and I'm very excited to open the show with open source. We also did not get a very big fat model from Mistral, but everybody kept talking about this. This is I think it's a very funny meme to mention. And folks who are online more than me this week, I would love to hear from you about le cheton fat or le gros cheton, but from Mistral. In tools and agentic engineering, Claude Design gets a major update. Design system imports now. You can edit it in Canvas and the Claude Code sync bi-directional. It's really cool. Last time we talked about Claude Design, we showed off and we weren't able to use this. Now, hopefully, we'll be able to use this a little bit. Human Layer launches an agentic IDE to fight AI code slop. Human Layer's founder, Dexter Horthy, is a friend of the show. He's going to show up here to talk about AI engineers doing a lot of slop. Dexter is one of the more famous kind of speakers from the AI engineer scene, and we're both going to talk about the AI engineer World's Fair. I believe Wolfram and I and all Dexter are all speakers there. And then we're going to chat with Dexter about this. Open Router also launches Fusion API. Wolfram, I think you dropped this one. I saw this like a glimpse, but you want to give this like a 2-sentence description of what's important here?
Yeah, so it's basically a way to achieve Fable intelligence at half the price. And what they are doing is through the API, you just send one call and it goes to multiple models. And then a judge model basically combines the best answers. And something like the consortium we have seen before by Carpathy, or how we have been doing it manually in the beginning, where you had ask multiple AI and make an answer out of the best parts of each response. So this is now on the API level, so you don't have to build it yourself. Just use it like a model, and bam, you get great results.
That is
I think
super
it's super important.
Yeah, super cool. Shout out to Open Router for this combined effort. And then also we have what you just mentioned, right? European users, EEA and UK and Switzerland are getting access to Codex computer use, Chrome extensions, memory, and Chronicle. Chronicle, which I've never used since they announced it. I tried it once, and I don't know if it's actually helpful. They all talked about it like the next coming of the AI apocalypse, and I've never used Chronicle since then. Chronicle is the feature in Codex where it takes a screenshot of your screen every 5 seconds or so you have full context of what you worked on. Yeah.
Microsoft announced that even earlier. Remember the recall feature they had, and that was retracted because of privacy issues and so on. And now they have this as well.
I'm gonna try it again. I tried it at the beginning. It was killing my laptop, so I thought, okay, that's not.
Oh no way! Mine is turned on, and I don't know if I like notice any performance issues, but yeah. One thing in this week's buzz, we're gonna get to the corner where I talk about Weights and Biases and CoreWeave. Weights and Biases launches HiveMind, folks. We're gonna have the folks from HiveMind come here. It's a unified dashboard to track your spend and ROI across all of your AI coding agents. We support Codex and Cloud Code and a bunch of other stuff. It's really cool. I wanted something like this for the longest time, and honestly, I had access to HiveMind for the longest time, and I wasn't able to talk about this because it was in development. It is really, really cool to see like a unified dashboard of all your agents, and obviously Weights and Biases tracks your AI spend. So unlike Weave, which is a developer tool that you can track agents in production, this is for your coders in your company, so you can work with the team and see how many tokens together you spend. There's a bunch of other stuff there. I'm very excited. We also launched Kimi K2.75 code live on WB Inference at very high speeds as well. I think we're tracking to be the number one on artificial analysis, I believe. With 289 tokens per second. Wolfram, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, we with 289 tokens per second, we were in the first place, or are in the first place, and they also have a quadrant where they show speed versus price, and we are in the most attractive quadrant as the only provider. Actually,
that is awesome. So definitely, folks, if you haven't tried WB Infinite powered by CoreWeave, you definitely should, and we'll tell you all about this a bit later. In Vision Video, Google DeepMind finally launches Omni. So we talked to you about Omni at Google I/O, but Omni finally got launched as an API to be able to get tested, and now it's on different arenas as well. Peter, is it also on Arena AI to folks to test as well, Omni?
Yeah, it is. It scored really, really well. It was like GPT image 2 level in terms of the
jump between the previous one, right?
Yeah, it was very impressive.
So Google's the first any-to-any model, but specifically, I think folks are testing it in the, from the video generation aspect, and I think it's scoring incredibly well. So shout out to Omni, and we're going to take a look at a few more. And XAI relaunches or launches finally Grok Imagine Video 1.5. They call it 2x faster generation. Honestly, XAI Grok Video has been more and more incredible. They've been working really hard. It's kind of hard to track XAI Grok's Imagine because they keep releasing these without like actual version numbers, and there's like, oh, we updated Grok Imagine, so it's annoying. But finally, they gave us a version pinpoint 1.5. It's native audio, and they claim #1 leadership position also at different places, at Design Arena, Image to Video Leaderboard, and other places as well. So we're gonna take a look at Grok Imagine Video, and I think it's really, really cool. This is the last corner that I have. Hopefully Tanishka will join us. Folks, yesterday Midjourney, the company that creates Midjourney image generation model, decided to say, hey, we have an announcement, hardware announcement. Let's talk about this. And Midjourney announced Midjourney Medical. Midjourney Medical, the first hardware device that they announced as part of it is the full body ultrasonic scanner. It captures 800 terabytes of data per scan in under 60 seconds. This is the most mind-blowing moment of this era, and we're an AI show here, and the reason why we're talking about this here is because the only way to handle all this data is AI, and also Midjourney is an AI company, self-funded. There's no VCs there, so they can do crazy stuff like this. It is definitely part of sci-fi is here. Like, we'll tell you all about this. It's really, really cool. I think this is all on the TLDR. Wolfram, anything that I missed? I think a few more things, but I think that's there's plenty of topics here to talk about.
That's the most important stuff for sure.
Most important stuff. Alrighty. All right, folks, let's dive into open source. I think we're very excited to talk about the 2 open source models that we got this week after Fable was yanked away. Let's cover open source. Open source AI, let's get it started. I love this transition for open source AI. Let's get it started, folks. Today, we're talking about 2 open source drops. Actually, 3. Let's start with Le Chaton Fat. Guys, I think I missed the meme. What can somebody please describe to me what is happening with this fat cat from Mistral? Like, what's going on? Somebody says 30 trillion parameters, MOE. What? Please, somebody tell me what's going on. LDJ, I see your hand raised, and then we'll go to Peter.
Yeah, so I believe the origin of this is actually, I think it was Arthur Mensch or one of the founders of Mistral. They posted a loss curve, a chart of loss also just being a way of measuring error essentially as the training improves and it goes through happens over time. What they showed is like in the top right corner or like the corner of this picture with this loss chart, it said like the name of the training run and it said something like Les Chatan Fat and then some other things. And so people are like, holy shit, like what is Les Chatan Fat? And then people started making a bunch of jokes of it from there.
Interesting. And so people kind of decided to treat this as a release with benchmarks and details, but it's all bullshit, right? There's no Le Chaton Fat, Le Gros Chaton, whatever. Peter, what's your take on this Mistral thingy? I think Arena also did like a fake thing.
Yeah, it's like I posted this in internal Slack, and then our CEO said like, "Oh yeah, post it," because I was like, "Is this too dumb?" But yeah, this was the GPT-2 image, by the way.
Oh, nice. Could you, for folks who are just listening, could you describe what we're looking at?
Yeah, so it's our normal agent arena chart, and Le Chaton Fat is above Fable on top and goes outside of the axis. And the caption says, "We have requested an urgent authorization from the French government to extend access to display the result on the agent arena." And I feel like everyone was doing like stupid things like this, and like everything was getting like enormous amount of engagement, which is I think just people in minds. I feel like it's Fable effect, right? People just have like losing their minds clinging onto something. I don't know. I think everything, the whole, I think dynamic with Anthropic has been just completely insane last several months. And if I look back at my tweets that got like the most engagement, like pretty much all of them is some stupid Anthropic related thing. So
Yeah.
I think I took it up to that as well. So
there's definitely a vacuum between the announcement of Fable getting yanked away and some of the open source stuff that people wanted to talk about things. So we're not getting a fat cat from Anthropic. They did, from Mistral. There's no Le Chaton. There's no Le Chaton Fat as an actual thing. It was just, it's kind of intersect of cats on the internet getting viral by default, I think, since forever, and then also fat cats specifically. LDJ, last comment on the Le Gros Chaton.
Yeah, I posted the source in the side chat.
Oh, nice. All right.
StreamYard here.
Let's take a look. Oh, Guillaume Lampel, I think the CTO, I believe, or chief scientist of Mistral, posted this. Let's take a look. Oh, he posted a WNB curve. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so I think this is the originator of so this is an actual post, like not a troll.
Not a meme,
and then people took this, and you see in the corner it says BLC_ Le Chaton Fat FP8, and so they just named that the training run, and then people started making a bunch of speculations, which turned into jokes from there.
Yeah. So it's obvious from this chart that Mistral is using weights and biases. Just a shout out to the weights and biases team. So we can make memes too. Like our things can make memes. This blew up. This is 1.7 thousand likes on a training run. He posted it with nothing. This is just a loss curve, a beautiful loss curve. He posted with no commentary, and then people just got like super excited about this. All right, let's add Jan Pelek to the stage here, and then let's move on to talk about actual open source models. I think that let's talk about which one should we cover first, by importance or descending order. Let's talk about GLM 5.2. I think GLM 5.2. Peter, I think when you said, "Hey, I want to come and talk about this, I can't stay for long." This is the model that you wanted to cover the most, I believe, right?
Yeah, I can talk about both, and I'm actually really curious to hear what everyone else thinks, because this was one of those releases that is quite confusing, because if you look at the benchmarks, normally the way it goes, right? A company that is like cashing up, right? Not Anthropic, for example. They would release a model. They'll have a bunch of benchmarks with it, which are super cherry picked. Maybe it's like sometimes it crosses the line into like abuse or not, but normally it's like a few good benchmarks, and then other benchmarks come out, and they'll kind of actually it's not as good as you think, kind of thing. That's normally I don't know if everyone else's experience is like that. That's what I normally see. And here it's like almost every benchmark is like, oh, actually it is really good, and we had some where it's even like above Fable, right, at certain points, which is like okay. Um, and then I was trying to use it over the last couple of days, and I had some. I think inference is still an issue. I don't know whether you guys have a very good access, but I was trying to use it, and I don't know. I wasn't getting like particularly impressive results. Like I'm sure, like I haven't done a lot of side by side with like 5.0 or 5.1. I'm sure it is better, but like I don't know. It's like I'm not like that impressed. So, in the sense that it's amazing to have such a great model that is like not massive and is open source, like that's kind of as given. But I wouldn't go as far as saying that it's anywhere near in the category of Fable. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Like I'm kind of a bit confused. Like how come all the benchmarks are so good?
I think that we've seen similar things from kind of GLM before. Some of this was claimed to be benchmark. Some people are like excited because it's open source and like it's cheap to access. As far as I saw, I didn't have time to like. I just came back from vacation yesterday, so I didn't have time to test it myself. I tried to test it this morning via Devin desktop, so like it didn't complete yet. So I need to like finish that. But as far as I saw, people are getting very excited about design stuff with GLM specifically. LDJ, what's your time? Let's say, have you able to use it? Have you been able to use it a little bit? What's your thoughts on GLM 5.2 specifically?
Yeah, so my thoughts on it, especially with the last capability you said there, the design aspects of it. I think some people might call it benchmarks, but I feel like from the perspective of the fact that capabilities are getting to a point now where even if you do specialize in a certain area, that could still be genuinely valuable. I feel like GLM is going in that direction when it comes to front end design and these types of things. I think it's definitely not at the level of Fable or even 5.5 when it comes to maybe more math related things or more, let's say, experimental design for actual research. But when it comes to something specifically like designing a website and actually having good taste there, it does seem like in some cases even competing almost with Fable.
I mean,
Yeah.
more than competing, Design Arena is, I believe the competitors of yours to some extent, or maybe like an additional like a point. I don't know whatever, but like Design Arena also goes for the vote which one you prefer type kind of like voting in Elo score, and so supposedly if they're doing their job correctly in collecting those votes, folks have been selecting GLM 5.2 results specifically for design tasks higher than Fable, and by quite a margin. 1360 Elo score, 1350 for Claude Fable, which we know was great. Last week we showed you Fable. I did the whole website design. Peter, you did your designs with the 3D stuff. Like Fable was incredible, and I think between the excitement of Fable and actual deliverance of Fable, there's a one-to-one correlation. Like everybody who got excited, yeah, Fable's that good. Here we are having a little bit of a discussion here, but as far as I saw, the mentions for this model, all folks said was like it's really great at HTML. I'm actually running my own thing now, so hopefully this will finally deliver. But yeah, tell me what are your thoughts on
one maybe technical note to add is that not I don't know what Design Arena do specifically, but for us is that we have kind of tentatively kept it on the leaderboards for now, even though we if it doesn't come back, we're going to remove it. But one nuance there is that when you have these kind of side-by-side things, or just kind of, for example, on the agent arena, we have like the overall set of models, and then we measure different signals to compare to each other. But the point is, if one model is actually not available, then you can't really compare to it. So it's not like an absolute benchmark. So one nuance could be is that actually, if you were to put them side by side, maybe that kind of that these numbers wouldn't hold. So that's maybe just one thing to bear in mind. So maybe one thing to expect is that if there are numbers like that, if Fable comes back, it might just shoot up again. So, but we'll see.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, any comments on you on this? Have you been able to test out GLM 5.2?
I didn't test the second one, but I just want to say I've used 5.1 for quite a lot. I usually keep around one of the cheaper tier of models, just for kind of unlimited quota kind of model, like so you can just offload very large parallel agentic things to it. And for quite a while, it was 5.1. So it was really good for this use case. I'm just happy that now we have 5.2. And now, by the way, anyone curious, I'm using DeepSeek as this for this specific placeholder. But it's great. I was just kind of surprised that the benchmarks weren't better, if it makes sense. I mean, it is better than 5.1, but I was expecting I was expecting a little bit more. Yeah, it is a confusing release, to say the least.
So let's talk about the actual kind of like facts of the release, right? So GLM 5.2 from ThursdAI is they mention it's specifically strongest open source model for long horizon tasks. On Frontier SWE measures whether agent can complete full engineering projects. GLM 5.2 scores 74.4, trailing Opus 4.8 by just 1%. But again, the benchmarks don't tell the full story, but we'll mention them as well. Terminal Bench 2.1, it's getting 81%. Wolfram, we haven't tested this on Wolfbench yet. Like we're waiting for this model to go up on inference, but Terminal Bench jump should mean something great. And also, Peter, I want to bring you back because like we did talk about the agentic arena once you guys launched it, and I believe the GLM 5.1 was the top like open source one. Is that not?
Yeah.
I remember this.
Yeah, maybe let me share my screen. Yeah, because in there I can show you. Yeah, so it did do very well. So it's number 10 on the
number 10 overall and number 1 in open source, right? Like from open source with models, this is like the leading model in the agentic arena.
Yeah, but 5.1 already was, so it's only like slightly better than 5.1 for now. So we'll need to see, if how that shakes out. But I would say like I've seen some other benchmarks and it's like so close and so on. Like I feel like ours is a good reflection of where I would place them. So yeah, and I've been trying a few things. Maybe I'll just show you while I have the screen.
Yeah.
So I've got like find an interesting data set, research it, like and show to me to kind of educate me. Like I don't have the side by side, but like Fable is so much better than this. This looks to me quite basic. It's like that doesn't feel that engaging.
I wonder if it's fair though, Peter, to compare this to Fable. Like, obviously, when we look at different benchmarks that they compare to Fable, yes, but like, I wonder if it's fair to compare any open source model to any, even the last frontier model that's not like Fable style, or how do you compare this to like other open source? Like, this looks decent, although very AI like native design. This thing we're like rounded corners and a little bit of color. All AI models do this. Specifically, the Opus models do this specific thing. That's a tell. But
yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I think I just want to calibrate this a bit. Like that, it's not. I don't want to say that this is like a bad model or something. Like, this is clearly an amazing model. Like the fact that it's open source. Like, so it's kind of trying to keep two things in my head. Like the fact that it's open source and we can like take it and run it. Like, that's
open source. It's MIT licensed. It's 753 billion parameters MOE with MIT license. So not even the specific license of like, hey, you can only deploy. No, MIT fully like take this model and run with it. So it's incredible.
Yeah, so that's all. Like, I'm not arguing against that part, but I'm definitely arguing against that when we kind of see in the benchmarks of people saying, "Oh, it's like like almost there at the level of Fable." Like, I think it's nowhere near. Like, it's the let's just hold our horses a little bit. Like, it's good model. It's maybe better than what you'd expect, but that's not nowhere near that level yet. And like, it would be kind of crazy if it was, wouldn't it be? Like, if it's like the 700 odd billion parameter model, same as Fable, like that sounds just implausible.
Fable is in the trillions. We don't actually know, but yeah, I think somebody mentioned like in the trillions of parameters. So this model has. Yeah, go ahead.
There's also the jagged frontier where models can be close in one area and they can be very far apart in another area. And you can't, in the benchmarks, if a model is great in a benchmark, you can say the same model with the same score is as good as the other one. You can only say it did as well as the other one in this specific test, this kind of benchmark. So saying this is on the same level as Fable would always need the disclaimer in this particular benchmark with these tests we tested. Well, that has to be kept in mind because every benchmark is only a small part of the model that we are actually seeing and testing for this specific use case.
My test keeps crashing. I don't know why. Not because of the model. Just Dev and desktop just like literally just crashes in the middle. I have no idea what's going on. But once I have something, I'll show you. What else do we have for you? So the terminal bench are good. Anything else we should mention about this, folks? Should folks try this out? I mean, if you are focused on price and performance, I think the model is like very interesting for you. Also, Peter, the thing why I don't want to compare this to Fable is, but we don't have access to Fable anymore. So let's compare this to model we have access to. And API pricing is very cheap. So you get, I think, for free on Dev and desktop. Actually, yeah, I'm running this and I think it's for free. It's available pretty much everywhere, hopefully soon on Weights and Biases Core with Inference as well. And this is just a lot of buzz on social media. Let me just add this. Like, folks are saying that like they find output quality comparable to Opus 4.8, but like roughly 8 times cheaper. Let me see if I can show this. Obviously, interesting. I cannot show this. Some folks have tested for a few days long horizon tasks, very good for agentic use. Maybe I should switch back in my Hermes to try it out because 5.1 was the model as a good fallback as well. All right, folks, I think let's move on and talk about Kimi K27 code. I think is the other big model release that we had from this week. And I think obviously Kimi is the darling of the open source industry while we wait for DeepSeek, although Jan mentioned you do use DeepSeek. So Moonshot AI released Kimi 2.7 code this week as well. Also a 1 trillion parameter MIT. I seem to have a so GLM is not quite 1 trillion, right? Like 753 million parameters. Billion parameters. Sorry. Moonshot AI's Kimi 2.7 obviously is 1 trillion parameter model. It's an MOE model, 30% fewer reasoning tokens and jumps on benchmark. Let's take a look. They have their own Claw benchmark, which is very interesting, kind of like OpenClaw-ish benchmark. Program Bench is at 53%, beating the previous Kimi at 48, and Kimi Code. I don't see any major benchmarks here, though, so let's take a look if we can find them. But folks, thoughts on Kimi 2.7? Wolfram, I think you mentioned that we already have this running on WB Inference or CW Inference, I guess, at incredible speeds.
It's running, it's fast. I did a test with it, but my initial test was the thinking off, and after that I realized it does not support thinking off. So my score, I didn't publish it because of that. I will rerun it with thinking on, which is basically the default and the only supported way right now.
Yeah. So 6x high speed mode coming soon. So this is not like yet even like a speed model. 21% plus on Kimi Code Bench V2, 11% on Program Bench. I want to see the big benches here, and I keep not seeing the big benches, which is like a little bit frustrating. Peter, thoughts on Kimi 2.7 code?
Well, one thing before I forget, for GLM, one important note is that it's not multimodal, so it doesn't have vision.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is quite a big part of coding right now, which is kind of, I guess we need to make allowances for that. But on Kimi, maybe if I just show my screen again, and we saw this on a few benchmarks. So I was kind of slightly worried about this our benchmark here, that it showed that Kimi K 2.6 is actually slightly better than 2.7. So that's 2.6 and that's 2.7 code. Yeah.
This is on Agentic Arena, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, you don't normally see that, so I was a bit worried. Are we doing something wrong here? Sometimes there are weird bugs or something, right? I think
actually
if I
saw the
remember,
same.
sorry,
Just I saw the same, that it did not beat 2.6, but since I was using thinking off, I can't really say anything about the real model, so I have to redo the test.
Yeah, so there was one benchmark I remember. I don't have a link for it, but I think the Vengeance bench, I think they saw the same, that 2.7 did worse. And I didn't look into it, so this is more kind of a speculation of the top of my head, but they did talk about kind of being faster. So I don't know, did it get smaller or something, or did the sparsity increase? I wonder if they did something to make it like a bit nicer to use, but actually maybe they had to compromise on other things. This is not informed view, but I'm trying to explain, like, how could this be that like the next version is weaker? So it could be that maybe it got more narrowly trained on code and tasks, so maybe it will do better on certain things, but not others. From to your point earlier, but yes, it wasn't like a big jump that we saw with other models.
Yeah, speculating, I think that the code that they specifically called it the code model that goes in that direction, that it may not be as strong in the other parts, and also that they reduce the reasoning. That could also have an effect like that. So in Wolfbench, on the second spot is Gemini 3.5 Flash, which is super strong. But if you look at how many tokens it needed to get there, it actually cost more than if you were using GPT 5.5 because it needed so many tokens.
I think it's worth mentioning here, Wolfram, as you said, that we're now offering this model on CW Inference, and this is like very, very fresh. So you guys are welcome to go and try it. Kimi 2.7 code is the highest output per artificial analysis, at least as of June 18th. We're starting this model at 289 tokens per second. Very, very fast. With reasoning as well. Blackwell runs FP4 natively, and so our reply training team requantized it to NVFP4 to full GB300 and GB200 throughput. So accuracy held across benchmarks and live code bench, SweetBench, and Pro and multilingual. And we added the speculative decoder on top. Most AI models write their answer one word at a time, which is slow. Speculative decoding is the technique that lets the model draft a few words ahead of it and check all of them in one shot with the bigger model. So we have the speculative decoding on top, and we now showing speed versus price as the highest kind of tier. So that's very, very exciting. Folks, CW Inference is available, and you can definitely check it out. We can take a look at like a bunch of other stuff, but Kimi has been kind of like the darling of the open source folks. I don't believe the license is quite open source. Wolfram, you want to chat about the license of Kimi? Let's take a look.
I thought it was.
License modified MIT. So I believe that the license includes some provisions for like bigger companies required to pay for modification.
Yeah, 100 million monthly active users or more than $20 million in monthly revenue. Then it is required to display it properly. So they probably don't want to have the cursor incident happen again or something.
Yeah. But yeah, generally MIT license, use it for anything. But if you are a company and have these requirements, 100 million monthly active users or more than $20 million revenue in monthly, you should prominently display Kimi K2.7 code on the user interface of such product and infra. So you cannot just like use this model and claim it to be your own. I think though, generally, as you know, as a podcast that celebrates open source, I think we absolutely must celebrate the fact that like these models continue to push the frontier of what open source models can do in complete open source. LDJ, I haven't heard from you about Kimi K2.7. Jan seems to have dropped. What's your take, at least from your zeitgeist about Kimi K2.7? Anything interesting that we also should mention?
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to go too deep into it, but based on the benchmarks, it's interesting compared to 2.6. Like it's in some of the benchmarks over 15-20% jump. Yeah, I mean, if we don't get the Fable model accessible to us within the next few months, it's inevitable that I think like 6 months max before we probably have a Chinese model that's like clearly parity or better.
Yeah, I think one thing worth calling out is that Kimi K2.7, according to Moonshot folks, is built specifically for coding, available through Kimi Code and the Kimi API. May not be just like a general agentic model, which Peter could be something that the agentic arena is testing more favorably to. And so they're saying that for Kimi K2.6 and is more recommended for the general purpose tasks, non-coding tasks. So that's a very interesting call out from the Moonshot folks as well. All right, I think that's all on open source, and we did quite a lot of it. Let's move on to big companies. I think there's a lot to talk about Fable. Peter, I know you have to drop at some point, but like at least about Fable, let's stick with us if you can, because I do want to cover that part as well. We don't have any transitions, but folks, last week, just a day after or 2 days after, I believe it was on Saturday, when I saw the blog post. I actually disconnected, deleted Twitter. Can you believe it? For a few days over the weekend, and I got a notification from Reddit that the U.S. government, that Anthropic posted a post about the U.S. government requesting a block of Fable and Mythos to every foreign nationals, which caused Anthropic to close Fable access to everyone. Externally, everyone. I don't know about internally, but I'm assuming internally as well, because people were speculating about different folks like Sholto Douglas and Andrei Karpathy, who is now part of Anthropic, and whether or not they're U.S. citizens, and whether or not they are allowed access to this model, which is absolutely crazy. And so I do want to go through the actual kind of announcement, because Anthropic did write some stuff there, and also cover where it's at currently. So let's see if I can find the actual post from Anthropic, which saw, I believe this post now has 90 million views, which is insane. This was by far the biggest news of last week, but in terms of like what we saw. The U.S. government says Anthropic publicly on their Twitter, the U.S. government, citing national security authorities, has issued an export control directive to suspend all access to Fable 5 and Mythos 5 by any foreign national, whether inside or outside of the United States, including foreign national Anthropic employees. The net effect of this is that we must abruptly disable Fable 5 and Mythos 5 to all our customers to ensure compliance. Access to all other cloud models is not affected. We apologize for the disruption. We believe this is a misunderstanding. We're working to restore access as soon as possible. Read our full statement. The full statement now includes the supposed jailbreak that somebody found and told the U.S. government that the supposed jailbreak is allowing the model to code, I think, and find vulnerabilities in the website. But I think the matter is access to all other Anthropic models will not be affected. So like we still have, Opus 4.8, for example, but the government believes it has become aware of method of bypassing jailbreak in Fable 5. We reviewed the demonstration of this specific technique, and this vulnerability is all appear relatively simple. We have found that other publicly available models are able to discover them as well without requiring a bypass. So basically, somebody said to the US government, hey, this supposed weapons grade model from Anthropic is jailbreakable. So the security and safety stuff they added are not enough. And then Anthropic is like, hey, other models can also find out the same issues that you're pointing towards. So what's going on?
I also heard that it was by an Amazon person. The Amazon wasn't it a CEO or something from Amazon who did it,
Somebody
which are investors.
Requested
investors of Anthropic as well. So well.
Oh, the Amazon investors in Anthropic, yep. Folks, what do we think? This is the first time, as far as I have seen this, that besides when the Department of War and Anthropic went head to head, and then they threatened to use the Defense Production Act to identify Anthropic as a supply chain risk. Besides that, this is the first time that the US government actually declares something that blocks access to an AI model, the frontier AI model. What the fuck? I think at some point we decided like we'll get there, but like what the fuck? Let's talk about this.
And especially if it is also possible to do the same with GPT 5.5 or other models. I mean, they have not been blocked. So what's going on here?
Yeah. Peter, thoughts on the best model that we've tested so far getting yanked? Were you excited to play with this over the weekend, and the weekend plans went off the rails?
Yeah, no, it's a definitely a sad day, and it's very confusing, right? There's like a lot of reporting, and that's, I think journalists doing a good job like digging stuff out. So I'm quite enjoying reading the coverage. But yeah, it's one of those moments where you're trying to think, is this it now? Is this like our life, or is this just a blip? And I guess I don't know. Standing here, I have no idea. Like it could just go back tomorrow to normal releases, and labs kind of don't pay like any special attention. But I think international competition, well, from China is going to matter, right? Like, okay, US government can block things, but it's like 6 months or 12 months behind whatever, right? Clearly, GLM models already, like, by the way, sanctioned by the US government, I believe, already. And despite that, they're doing a very good job.
But not the model, the model are not sanctioned, right? Like maybe the
as a GLM as an entity. Sorry, no, the ZAI, Zipu AI. I think they're sanctioned by the US government, like especially, not like every other Chinese company. So I think it's kind of also not tenable position to kind of keep that, and I think also the fact that so much investment is going in, and I think US government's quite keen to also keep the investment flowing. So it's kind of I can't quite imagine this precision holding, but I guess it's different people within the government also have their own opinions, which I think is not unreasonable. But yeah, I think it's a shock to everyone how quickly that happened.
It happened very quickly. Everybody was very excited to play with Fable, continue to play with Fable. Some folks were holding out to the quotas. Also, as a reminder, Anthropic only let us play with Fable in the max tier until like June 22nd. So everyone's like trying to token max, including me and my wife on the plane to our vacation. Like both were just like token max Fable as much as possible. The amount of time my wife came to me and said, "Hey, when's Fable back? Like what's going on? I want Fable. Nothing else works as well." Is more than 5 times, I believe, at this point. But I think we have some good news-ish from earlier today. So some reporter said, quotes an Anthropic official that said, Anthropic is confident that in the coming days, Fable 5 will become available again. International Managing Director from Anthropic says in Seoul. So there are discussions, even over the weekend, with the US government from Anthropic officials to how to bring this model back. Because, folks, you must remember, Mythos 5 is being used by other companies via the Glass Wing project, Glasswing, and Mythos 5 level model, Fable is also Mythos 5, is also being used within Anthropic. And that model is very, very good at producing other models continuously. Like the frontier of AI is being deliberately, how should I say, held back by the US government because of this issue. And if this issue is just a jailbreak, that all models are jailbreakable, all models are jailbreakable, but not for the specific purposes, then what are we doing here? Are we like pausing ourselves while China catches up? So as let's see, counting on this panel, given that I'm a naturalized citizen, LDJ, assuming that you're a citizen as well, please raise your hand if you are.
Yes, I am. Yep.
Good. So only me and you technically are allowed. The other folks on here are foreign nationals that will not get access to Fable, even if it comes back without this restriction. Will this lead to us having to provide a government ID before we get access to Fable? Like this could potentially have huge implications in how frontier AI continues, right? Wolfram, we keep talking about you being in the EU and EU restricting some access to the more like computer use stuff, etc. And EU kind of like is like in stronger on regulation side, but this is definitely like a big thing because of Peter, of what you said. Of we don't know whether or not this is the new way of accessing frontier models, and we all are. It's worse. Let me pause here and say, last week on the show, I asked all of you if it's better to have access to Fable 5 with the restriction that Anthropic added. You guys remember this? Or not have access at all? And we all said it's better to have access with the restriction. Like, it's all better to have a restriction with it falling back to Opus 4.8 sometimes, or saying, or being down when you ask it to do some frontier AI research. We all got access, and then we all quickly learned what is it like to get access to a very good frontier model, Mythos level frontier model, and then getting yanked. LDJ, I think you raised your hand as a commenter.
Oh, I was just raising my hand to confirm yes.
Oh, to confirm that if they bring it back and it's only still restricted to U.S. citizens, that you'd be able to get it. Peter, thoughts on like the jagged frontier?
Yeah, one thing that I found interesting is that it's kind of hard to read between the lines or like from the signals, but it does look like there's G7 right now, right, in France, and it does look like Macron was cozying up to Dario, and I wonder if like the Europeans are like starting to see some opportunities there. I don't know what the plan of action is there, but I think you mentioned, Alex, like, Europeans like regulating more heavily, but like no one's banned it here. So it's kind of, I wonder, I don't think there is anything they can particularly do. I think US can still block it, but I wonder if there is like more interest in having some more AI in Europe somehow, because I think a lot of the governments and people waking up is like, well, this could happen with any model, and it's like, what are you going to do if US just says we're keeping it for ourselves? I think it's bad for the US considering they just spend money and they don't have any alternatives. But if it's like commercially bad for the US, but like completely disastrous for Europe. So yeah, I mean, we've only got basically one lab. There are a bunch of like product companies, startups in the UK which are doing very well, like Granola. 11 labs. I guess they are 11 labs have their own models, but yeah, a lot of these startups will just go out of business. I guess I don't know what they're gonna do.
Yep.
So yeah, it's a very heavy implications for Europe as well.
And we want it back. So if anybody from the government listens to us, we want Fable back, please. Go ahead, Wolfram.
It's definitely a precedent now that this has happened, that it's on the mind of many people, especially in other countries where sovereign AI, it has always been something where we were saying, yeah, we need this. But now we see for the first time in real life that maybe the top model AI has been restricted. And even if it's brought back to the American folks, it also means that there's now a real gap between the intelligence available to people based on their nationality. And that is something where if you want to build your business, think ahead 3 years or something, when we totally depend on AI like electricity. But electricity is just electricity. There are not different tiers of electricity in that way. Either your machine works or it doesn't. But in this case, it determines how well it works. And I think imagine that a company from Europe is competing with a US company and it has AGI, so it has unlimited employees doing everything they want. And now it can just be shut down by an outside force. I don't think anyone wants to depend on this for anything that is important to them.
I
Well,
don't
let's see
like
what
the
happens in
implications of
the
that.
coming
I
years.
agree with you. The precedent is scary, but honestly unavoidable, folks. If we are in fact talking about those implications that they mentioned, that this is like nuclear level change, and if if Mythos is breaking through the Anthropic CB2 level, which stands for like chemical biological weapon, is able to create novel chemical biological weapon, some us in the AI bubble was like, hey, we can make HTML pages. Some nation states can make fucking COVID times 10. So it does make sense that somebody's there thinking about this. To be clear, this ban is not because of that. This ban is because of a jailbreak that it can do, like a hack or something. Nissan, you wrote about this as well. We're talking about Fable getting ganked by the government. One last comment before we move on and talk about SpaceX AI. Would love to hear from you. Welcome to the show, by the way, Nissan.
I love how much it annoyed the Europeans as well, because they were the whole time that we have to put restrictions. We cannot let these things happen. Look at how, and then they found out, oh, okay, now we're getting put restrictions on. So,
yeah,
that was well deserved. Yeah, maybe
all right.
they learned something.
I don't think we heard from you on Fable as well on the yanking. Anything more to add that hasn't been said? And if not, we'll move on to SpaceX and APO.
I don't like it in a way, shape, or form, and I just think it's gonna disappear and it's gonna come back. The model is gonna come back, and it's all gonna be over soon. I think it just makes no sense in real life. Like, you're gonna have a DeepSeek version in a couple of months anyway, and I don't know, jailbreakable like every other model in existence. And just like you're saying, yeah, you can develop weapons with it. So for quite a while already, and it seems like, I don't know, a government is solving things, the name of things instead of the actual things, and it's just, these things don't hold up usually when you do regulations based on the name of the thing and not the actual thing in real life. I just hope it's gonna be over soon. We're gonna get Fable back.
I really want Fable back. Is my feedback from this. All right, folks, we have to say bye to Peter Gosta. Peter, thank you so much for coming, folks. Check out Arena, Agentic Arena, definitely. Peter, we'll see you hopefully next week. All right, folks, we're moving towards space. We're moving towards space. So last week we barely were able to mention that just before the IPO for SpaceX, Elon Musk and other folks announced the space satellites, the AI satellites in space, and then SpaceX went to do the IPO, largest IPO in the history of the world. SpaceX opened at $135 or so, and then very quickly shot to over 180. The share right now trade around 172, already dropping a little bit. But why are we telling you about stock market when we can tell you about we can tell you about AI stuff very shortly after the SpaceX IPO, which made Space Uncle Elon Musk the first trillionaire in the world. Kudos. Do you guys think anything changed materially in his life after he crossed that benchmark of billions, hundreds, thousands, hundreds of billions to trillion? No, nothing changed. He can still fly on his fucking private plane. I don't think there is anything for him to buy more than he couldn't buy before, but he passed the trillion mark. SpaceX acquired Cursor. Finally, we told you about the SpaceX deal where SpaceX paid Cursor $10 billion for some of their data, with the option to buy them at the insane valuation of $60 billion. Cursor, they rewrote Cursor since, but Cursor is essentially the VS Code clone that has been making rounds, became an AI training company with Composer and Composer 2.5, which are great, and a lot of data, because they gave Cursor for free to many people while taking their data. And SpaceX, specifically xAI's Grok, was not that great at coding for a while, and the reason why was data, right? So They bought Cursor for their training opportunities and data, and this deal is now evaluated at $60 billion. All share deals valued at $211 per share, making the 4 co-founders of Cursor all billionaires, very young billionaires. 3 days after the insane $75 billion IPO, the largest ever IPO. Thoughts on this acquisition, folks? Not necessarily the IPO, on the acquisition of Cursor and how well is Cursor doing?
Go ahead, Niskin. You first.
It's pretty smart. I think for the data, it's completely worth it because now they also have basically info on how every company that uses this operates, how every enterprise, every large company. And Elon went to full Factorio pro gamer mode and just got quadrupled the high score of everyone else. And you see, because you saw the whole list of billionaires, and then it just starts to look kind of small. Like, is this the best humanity can do? Like, we can do a lot better.
Yeah.
Great on that. 60 billion to have data on every single enterprise who thinks that data retention policies don't have other legal clauses for retaining the data. That was pretty stupid of them in the first place. They should have gone open source. That's just my opinion.
Wait, stupid of who? I want to hear the hot take.
Of every enterprise and company that thought that the no data retention for training policy actually meant that they don't keep the data. We see time and again in legal cases, in legal evidence, that the deleted data is still there. It is being used in court in real life. So every company that just gave it all away, now they understand what kind of game is being played.
Let's talk about the implication of this, folks. Go around the room here. We have about 5 minutes until this week's buzz, where we have folks from West by to talk about our new product, which I'm very excited about, by the way. The implications of this. First of all, Cursor keeps training Composer 2.5, but also Grok is now going to be better at code. Is this enough to make SpaceX AI a frontier lab to compete with OpenAI and Anthropic, at least on coding? Because as we saw, at least on Arena Agentic benchmarks, on our benchmarks, Grok 4.3 is maybe a great model for research, but it's shit for code. Absolutely shit for code. As we also saw, all of these labs, including Gemini with anti-gravity, including OpenAI obviously with Codex, and Anthropic with Cloud Code, all of these apps are not making more money on coding assistants, which they are. Like the most amount of money that the AI makes right now is on coding assistant, Cloud Code, Codex, etc. OpenAI is refocusing on code. They also all realize that coding is the way to generalize the agent. That's why all of these harnesses are getting built together with models that are getting trained on these harnesses, right? This is obviously the play for SpaceX with Cursor. Is this enough to put them at the frontier? Is knowledge from the Cursor people plus the insane amount of GPUs that SpaceX has, which they're now giving, they're selling away to Anthropic, to whoever else. Is this enough to make them a frontier lab in coding within like 6 months?
I think it's also not just the coding, but it's the agentic stuff as well, where you need a great model. And as far as I know, XAI also allows you to use your subscription with other agents like Hermes Agent and basically any of these. So they are now, if they have a good model for code for agentic use, they are on the same level basically, if it's good, as OpenAI, with something you can put into any agent and have your model used for all of these things. That is one aspect of this, and the other one, we are losing a generic coding agent like Cursor, which was independent of the model, so you could use it with any model. We have no idea how this will shape out, if Cursor models will be the preferred ones, if the others will be offered, or whatever is happening here. So that is also something of an effect.
Yeah. So definitely a shout out to the Cursor folks. By the way, Cursor sponsor our last hackathon with great feedback. Like many people loved the Composer model as well. The Composer model is now available via your XAI subscription. By the way, they are working really fast. So if you don't have Cursor but you have the XAI subscription on Hermes or something, if you pay for X Premium, you get Composer 2.5, and Composer 3 is going to hit really hard. Composer 2.5 is already a great model. if it's now trained on the hundreds of thousands of H100 equivalents within the Memphis supercluster from XAI, Composer 3 is going to hit super hard, and it's coming very soon. So the race is on, and I'm very excited to see this race. While it kind of feels like the U.S. government kind of pauses the race to catch up for the other companies to catch up. It's very interesting. Going back to the U.S. government for just a second, that they prevented access to Fable 5 in terms of using it, but not in terms of training other models. So foreign nationals that they prevented are still able to train other models, but not use it. LDJ, last comment, and we'll move on.
To add to exactly what you just said at the end there, it doesn't seem like there's any directive prohibiting them from developing an even better model than Mythos. And so I don't think actually this will cause, at least not this directive, I don't think it will cause any type of significant lag long term, because 6 months out from now or whatever is the best model, I think will still be essentially the same capability in either parallel universe of whether this directive happened or not, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Alrighty, folks, it looks like it's time for us to hit this week's Buzz Corner. Let's go to this week's Buzz. We're going to tell you all about a very new, exciting Weights and Biases product that is just launched, that I was waiting for a while. I'm very excited for it. Let's go to this week's Buzz. Righty, we welcome to this week's Buzz, the corner at the ThursdAI that we talk about the weights and biases and core with different things. We usually tell you about models that we put up on the inference. We tell you about different features that release in Weave and weights and biases. But today we have a special treat for you guys. We have two great folks from the Weights and Biases, including a co-founder of Weights and Biases, CVP. Believe that you've been here before, so welcome back, Chris Van Pelt, from one of the co-founders of Weights and Biases, and Adrian Swanberg. Both of you have been cooking something in the lab that is now public that I was very excited to talk about for a while now, because I've been running this thing. So I think without further ado, how about you guys give an introduction of a new launch from the Weights and Biases team within CoreWeave? CVP, stage is all yours.
Right on. Hey, everyone. Excited to be on the pod again. That intro video for this week's Buzz, man, is so good. And Adrian, I'm a little jealous of your background, man. I'm at
incredible.
I've upgraded my home.
Yeah, dang. I'm in my childhood home in Iowa, visiting my family. So I've got a lovely background here. But excited to be on the pod, talk about HiveMind, a project we've been working on for about 6 months now. And the reason we started building it is we saw that fundamentally what it means to be a software developer has changed. And I haven't written an actual line of code in many months. I'm constantly now just prompting and iterating with these amazing new tools that we have. And HiveMind is a tool that kind of sits alongside those tools and observes what's happening. So it captures the actual transcripts or the interactions in all of the popular agentic toolkits, and then stores them in a central dashboard that allows individual developers to kind of keep track of all the work they're doing. So especially as we're doing many agentic tasks in parallel, you can quickly see at the dashboard level what's happening and where the agents are. But I think more interesting at a team level, when you have multiple people working on a repository, you're able to share sessions with each other, point to a different feature where some pretty cool features on top of that I'll hand it over to Adrian to talk about.
As I put HiveMind on the background, first of all, folks, congrats on the launch. I've been a beta user of HiveMind for a while now, and been very, very excited to hop in there from time to time and check out on my work across different agents. As you guys see right now in the dashboard, I have.
Is this your dashboard, Alex?
Yeah, this is my dashboard. I have Codex in there. I have Claude Code.
What are you up to lately?
As you can see from the tags, there, I'm working on my conference talk, and I'm working on ThursdAI website development and configs to scripts and Hermes infrastructure, different things. Yeah.
Nice.
What are you up to lately, Adrian? Tell us about HiveMind and features.
Ooh. Well, I think my latest session was actually a session that got tagged as operational because I was monitoring the launch.
Yeah.
But before that, let's see. I've been working on setting up the HiveMind development environment in this new containerized setting. I'm trying to give more people the ability to sort of like kick off HiveMind feature requests, and so containerizing the dev environment was important for that. Before that, I built our support inbox, which you have at the bottom right there.
This one.
Which I think I'm not going to let you see because it's for external users only. If you're internal, you go to Slack.
Nice. Oh, that's
yeah.
Support lives in Slack.
Yeah, but if you were an external user, you would actually have a messaging flow there that you'd be able to use to speak with us. So yeah, you've seen the homepage, you've seen the detail page. This is our take on AI agent session transcripts. We try to process everything and make it more useful to look at. On the right, you can see we have broken out your session into various chapters, so you can get an outline of what actually happened in the session. I don't know if you're like me, a lot of your sessions go really long, and scrolling through all the various like messages is it's hard to get a sense of what happened. So we try to publish this outline. We'll show you which files the agent touched. We'll show you which to-dos that it might have wrote, whether you had context compactions. And yeah, we can walk. There's a lot of functionality on this page, so we can kind of just like walk through some of the features. In the top right, there's a little button that looks like a fork next to the eyeball. So here's something so one of the interesting things is like HiveMind helps you stay kind of a harness agnostic. So if you actually, I don't know which agent you use for this. I forgot to look. It's somewhere there at the top. You use Claude. But if you wanted to pick this up and say codex, you can hit the fork button, copy that command. If you run that in your terminal, HiveMind will actually pull down a compacted session history for this session. And then it'll give you the choice to launch in whichever harness you want. So it's a pretty interesting way to try, take something you've been working on in one harness and try it out in the other harness.
This is proven to be invaluable when Anthropic servers are on fire and I just got to get something done. I can switch over to Codex. It's nice.
Wow.
Yeah, super nice.
And this is a compacted version of the conversation, right? Without like the tool call outputs, etc.
Yeah. It's not the full transcript. We don't translate everything back into the native harness message formats, but we do write quite a bit more context than you would otherwise get, I think, in the native compactions. So it is a bit heavier in that sense.
So we can go feature by feature, but like I just want to like ask you guys because Chris, you mentioned something that's very important of why this is launched, and obviously we have Weave. Weave is focused on tracing agentic execution for people who are building agents on on production, and Weave has been invaluable for folks like tracing and making sure that their agents are staying on point. Who is this for? Like, who's the user of HiveMind? I know I last week when Fable launched, and I ran this like long workflow, dynamic workflow thing in Cloud Code, included like multiple sub agents running and like tokens. I really wanted to count the number of tokens they used, and it looked like I was like, oh, I'm very happy that like I have HiveMind running in the background without me thinking about this. Like, how much do I store? So, am I the target user, or is the company who wants to make sure that their token maxing dashboards are not getting out of whack is the target audience? Like, who are we launching HiveMind for, and who is the set of features for?
Yeah. So the way we think about it is really there's two key personas. Number one, it's like us, the users of these tools, the developers. Being able to get value from a tool like HiveMind is really important. So from the use case you just said of just wanting to be able to go back and find something, like without a tool like HiveMind, it can be pretty awkward and difficult to go find something, especially as we start to spin up these things in ephemeral environments in the cloud. HiveMind kind of gives you a way to have that universal view and a bunch of other nice features that we could talk about. But the other core user is really the team lead or someone within an organization that wants to understand how their teams are using HiveMind. So, a common thing we've been seeing in the news a lot of organizations becoming worried about their token spend. or saying like, are we spending wisely? Are we actually using these tools well? HiveMind is a tool that can actually help answer that question. So we can know how many of these coding sessions are actually ending up getting merged into the main line of the repo, or better understand how the engineers are using tools. If we're starting to see more users use a tool like Cursor, then potentially it's time to revisit our agreement with Cursor. Or we're seeing trends of more codecs, again, giving the organization an ability to kind of predict or understand how the usage of the tools is evolving and how they can best support the engineers. And then for the engineers to be able to say, hey, this is actually like really valuable. We're actually shipping software that isn't really buggy and is providing value to the organization.
Yep. And I think that it's been talked about a lot about the token maxing dashboards, or whether or not folks are using the tools productively versus just using the tokens and maximizing out. I do want to talk about the users themselves. I think we are in this like beautiful era of, like you said, all of software development, it was reimagined from scratch. Many of us are like agent babysitters. All of the IDEs are dying, by the way, one after one. So like the IDE is not a thing anymore. They're all like changing to this agentic monitoring dashboard-ish, right, a thing. But again, they can only give you features that are part of their product. We are giving you features across all agentic harnesses. Could you guys talk about which ones we support? And then I do want to talk about this new persona of the folks who use the AI the best and how we can help within the organization for other folks to learn from them. Would love to like cover those two things.
Yeah, so on the agentic harnesses, Codex, Cursor, Claude Code, Pi, GitHub Copilot, and I think I might be missing one more, but essentially we designed the system to be really extendable. So as we see users using different harnesses, we're happy to kind of continue to add support for other harnesses. I think, the two things that are really important to touch on. One, there are always going to be power users in the organization that seem to be able to really leverage these tools effectively. And one of the coolest features in HiveMind is the ability to generate a persona for one of those power users. So at CoreWeave, Tim Sweeney is definitely one of those power users. This man has done many incredible things, and personas allows HiveMind to go look at the history of sessions that Tim has done and then say, let's create a skill called Talk to Tim that tries to embody the different approaches and techniques that Tim is using. And this has been a super popular persona within our org to be able to kind of have a virtual Tim to get guidance from.
Yeah, and we should, this is actually sort of a grassroots feature. We had another engineer build this functionality just using the HiveMind data that we exposed via our API. But everyone loved it so much we had to upstream it into the tool itself.
I love this. Wolfram, I think you have a follow-up question as well.
Yeah, so my question as a non-engineer basically is, how do you see it more like as a dev tool, or is it, since you mentioned engineers and merging, or is it also intended now or later to be a general purpose tool for everybody as agentic use becomes ever more widespread in all organizations and not just the engineers are using AI?
Yeah, I think today it's very much a dev-focused tool. And when a product is as early as this, I think it's important to have that kind of focus. But we've already gotten requests from other people in the org as Cowork and other tools have really unlocked the power of these things to everyday users. So we'll see how it evolves, but right now, dev-focused. And then the last thing I wanted to touch on is the insights feature we have with Adrian. Maybe you can just chat about quick, which is, often when these agent sessions are happening, you end up running into some kind of roadblock or you're correcting the agent. HiveMind can detect when that happens and then provide guidance on how you can steer the agent better in the future.
Yeah, let's see. I think I figured out the screen sharing here. Yeah, so we're kind of building in bits and pieces this intelligence engine on top of all the transcripts that we're ingesting across the organization. So we use AI to go analyze how these sessions went. We find issues, ideally issues that are correctable in some tractable way. We export them, we cluster them together, we sort of find the commonalities, and we expose them here on this dashboard for people to see. Let me see if I can find an interesting one that is not
find too one, and also zoom in a little bit so we can actually read like what's going on. I would love to see.
Good call.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me see if I can.
This is on the 1B core repo, I believe, right? Like the folks.
Yeah, so a little bit of secret sauce spilling out in here, but that's all right. Let's see. A lot of preferences.
What are the charts on the right? Those are per session charts of like how like well the session.
Okay, so here's a good one, right? We have this like very specific pitfall that at least 2 users have run into recently across 9 different sessions. The chart here is the number of times this specific issue has been detected in sessions that have been uploaded to Hivemind. So again, this is very much like inside baseball about how our I believe our runs metadata store works, but something that people tend to run into. And you can actually click in here and see like all the different times this has been different users across different sessions. And here's a bigger version of that detection chart. And so what the system has come up with is this suggestion that you may or may not choose to put in your agents.md file or somewhere in your codebase's agent context to basically nudge the agent to avoid this pitfall. And you can do that yourself, or you can copy this neat command that will automatically smart merge this insight into your repo's agents.md file. We'll actually use like your agentic harness to find the right place in that file to put the edit. So this is kind of the beginning of our effort to basically help the organization become better and better at using these tools and avoid the pitfalls by leveraging intelligence.
I think it's incredible because of how quickly we're building tools that evolve with how the profession evolves, right? So like from training models to then running agents in production to now actually running those coding agents. I think a lot of these tools are a personal pet peeve of CVP that like they become models afterwards. So I think that's they become products afterwards. So I think that's lovely. Maybe one last question for you guys before you. I know like we have a limited time with you guys. What can you give us actual insights towards the models or the products being used? Did we see a Fable blip in the thing once Fable was on? Can you give us like what are organizations using AI for based on what we see? What are we using? Are we seeing the rise of codecs coming back? Is this mostly Claude Code? I want like actual insights that we can share at least with our audience based on what we can collect. And obviously, how can folks use this? We're announcing this in public beta preview, I believe, today. So like how can folks actually use Hivemind for their own?
Yeah, we were all heartbroken when they ripped Fable out of our hands.
Yeah.
It was a nice couple of days, and then it's
out of a couple of days.
Yeah, so we can, you can see that data actually in Hivemind. You can see that little blip of hope until our dreams were dashed. It's been surprising to me to see how dominant Claude Code is. Certainly within kind of core weave weights and biases, it is by far the most preferred model that folks are using. The actual Claude Code harness is the preferred harness, although we do have a decent amount of cursor usage and a small group of people that are really enthusiastic about Pi in the org. Certainly, we had seen a trend of codecs kind of increasing. I mean, codecs is an incredibly powerful model. I just think what the data is showing us is kind of once as an engineer, you kind of pick your harness or you get into something like Claude Code, it's pretty sticky. It's only if Claude Code isn't working would you like switch to one of the other harnesses, is what the data seems to be showing at the moment.
Yep. Well, I think
5.6. Let's go.
Yeah, let's wait for GPT 5.6. So hopefully this launches at some point and we'll cover it. I think that the last like missing piece that we barely mentioned is the actual leaderboard, right? So like the Talking Max leaderboard that people talk about that gets created in different companies that leads to not that great of outcomes because people try to game them and then maybe get fired. Runaway Talking Max leaderboards are causing companies like I believe it was reported it was Amazon to up to $500 million into codecs. So we are also shipping that leaderboard as well as part of Hivemind because all engineers who have Hivemind are now on the leaderboard as well. We will not show you our leaderboard because we don't want to. But otherwise, I think it's also part of the product. Folks, you can try Hivemind at hivemind.1b.tools today, I believe. And then if your organization wants it, we will definitely chat with you. This is all provisioned for organization deployment, etc. If your org wants to track token usage across the company, definitely check it out. Chris from Adrian Swanberg, thank you so much for joining. Congrats on the launch today. It's I love using HiveMind. It runs in the background. Don't need to think about this, and it's there when I need it. And I think it's like the mark of the best type of software, especially now where I had to report on here how much Fable context and Fable tokens I used, and I had that data. I was like, yes, I have that data, and it's incredible. And my manager also has that data. That's great. CVP, thank you so much, Adrian. Thank you so much, folks. We'll keep checking on HiveMind how it develops in the future.
Awesome. Thanks for having us, guys. This was fun.
Cheers.
Yep.
Right.
Take care.
All righty, folks. We move on because we have a few more things to discuss. Thank you so much, CVP. Thank you so much, Adrian, for joining us. Nistan Yam, LDJ, thoughts on such a tool? Will you use this, given the fact that we'll basically store all your, all your sessions with Cloud Code, able to give you this like ability?
I think that's cool. That's something. I mean, I'm surprised I haven't seen more tools like this up to this point. I mean, it's. I mean, I think all of us have the same problem at the moment. That's pretty hard to manage the sessions. They are everywhere. Sometimes in a specific subdirectory. Go figure where they are. Codex and Claude code, and it's not the same. Like, absolutely, you can't switch from one to the other. That's hard to do unless you use Pi or something, and that's also has its own problems. I think everyone wants something that just manages the entire thing, especially now with multi-agents. You don't even know what a session is a real session and what a session is spawned by a different model anymore. I find myself having a hard time with this all the time.
HiveMind knows that we have sub-agent tracking within HiveMind because I think Cloud Code exposes that. So like I definitely saw like sub-agent like runs within HiveMind on my when I tried Fable and like spun up like 18 agents, sub-agents to do a bunch of stuff. Let's switch gears back to
go
ahead.
Are the traces going to be available with this? Because one difficulty I've noticed when working with researchers or other coworkers is that, one is on Cursor, one wants to use Codex, most want to use Cloud Code, and then I have to tell them to either copy the .cloud directory to just get all the logs in one place so we can have something searchable as a company. But then for Codex, I didn't know, and it was just a mess. So will this be able to integrate with the traces as well?
That's a good question. I believe that, obviously we store everything, but I don't know if we expose the whole raw trace thing, because trace is mostly for Weave, but I believe there's some integration between this and Weave is possible in the future to expose everything if possible. Wolfram, do you know?
I think it's possible. I mean, we have Weave, so basically traces are the thing, and I know everything can be searched and copied, so it needs the traces, or at least summaries of the traces. So I haven't used the software, but I'm pretty sure that it's possible. And if it's not, it's a very valid ask, so should be in there. I will ask the team.
Speaking of haven't used the software, the reason why I only have Cloud Code and Codex there is because I use Hermes on my personal machine for like a lot of coding as well, and Hermes is not captured yet in HiveMind. And like my first request to the team was like to have Hermes. Hermes passed open client number of contributors on open source. Hermes is a coding agent, as we saw on the event as well. And like this is my first request to the team to add Hermes in there. Folks, we have Dex Horsey coming up in a few minutes. I believe shouldn't be already here. In 10ish minutes. Let's talk about tools in agentic engineering. Let's talk about Cloud Design. I don't know if you guys been able to see this, but Cloud Design got an upgrade and it actually looks really, really cool right now. Let me open Cloud Design and show you. Oh no, did I lose my ability to share screen? I think I did. Okay.
Wow, this design looks amazing.
Yeah.
Just quickly getting back to Nistan. So we are not storing the full traces like Weave does, but it's more like transcripts and program traces.
Okay, because that would be two things that would be really useful. If you can integrate it with traces, because you can build like your knowledge, central knowledge as a company from everybody else. Because I'm able to get pretty good traces just from using the 1P inference already. And so yeah, I went on the site here. And the second one would be some kind of kit that you can use to configure your own harness to integrate with this. Or like if you're building an agentic UI or another agentic tool and you can integrate this in, that would also be very useful, because then you can get all the data, different models, different harnesses, etc.
Good feedback.
And then you can even integrate it into your own like RL pipeline. So all of this would be, would be very, very useful, because right now it's a little bit of a mess for anyone that wants to do that.
All right, folks, just before we have Dex Horthy come up to talk about human layers evolution, let's talk about, I wanted to talk about Claude design, but unable to for some reason. So let's talk about Open Router. Wolfram, you want to talk about Fusion API for Open Router before we add Dex Horthy here on stage?
Yes, I want. So
if you
basically what...
Screen, that'd be great as well.
Sharing the screen?
Yes, please share your screen
yeah,
for
sure,
Open Router. So we're moving towards tools and agentic engineering corner on Thursday here. Before we chat with Dex from Human Layer, Open Router launched Fusion API. This is a panel of budget models, beats GPT 5.5 and Opus 4.8, and lands within 1% of Claude Fable at half the price, which is quite a ridiculous feat, if I say so myself. So Wolfram, take it away.
Yeah, so basically what they did, they have 100 hard research tasks and benchmark different models, and the fusion works that you can have multiple models. Like here they were using Fable 5 and GPT 5.5 as a fusion. So it's it's sending the same task and giving tools to the same to the different models that are part of the fusion. So in this case, Fable 5 and GPT 5.5 got the same question or task and got tools to basically do their thing and return the response. And then another model that was on top of it was taking the responses and integrating them into a better response that takes all these things into account. So it's similar to what Anthropic did with the LLM consortium, where you can ask multiple AIs, multiple LLMs, and integrate the answers to get a better result than just asking an individual model. And in this case, you don't have to use special software. You don't have to set it up yourself. You just use the API, and this happens in the background. So it's like there's one model, a fusion model that you are talking to, and this all happens in the background. And you get great intelligence that way, and even cheaper than if you were just using one model at a higher level like this.
I love how Fable came out and very quickly Fable or near Fable like performances became a thing. But shout out to Open Router for this Fable Fusion API. All right, folks, I want to add to the stage friend of the pod, Dexter Horthy. Dex, I don't know if you know this. By the way, second time on the pod here, but I believe like you're third time on the pod. You're the only non-host who is a part of the opening kind of video scene. I think there's like a picture of you and me in the office. We're in the office and everybody else is the co-host. So you're welcome to also join us. Dex, founder of Human Layer, and you had a big launch this week. And the reason why I wanted to bring you on is because we just had Kristen Pelt from Weights and Biases, the co-founder. We launched HiveMind. I don't know if you're able to catch that segment where we track all of the kind of engineering sessions that people run via Codex and Cloud Code, etc. And the role of software engineer has been changing for a while. Definitely something happened, like Swig said, December 2025 and on, and everything is changing. You, as far as I can place you in kind of my timeline of folks, are more on the software engineering needs to remain software engineering, and the AI is a tool type area, where there's other folks in the YOLO camp, let's throw away everything that we did so far, let's just trust agents completely. And you've been at this for a while. Like I remember chatting with you about different like agentic stuff. You've been helping companies. Let's talk about the role of software engineer in the world where Fable comes out and like does all these things. And let's talk about Human Layer. I would love to hear from you what you guys launched and where we are. And let's have a little chat.
Oh my God, where to start? Okay, what's up, dude? Thanks for the incredible intro. I founder of a company called Human Layer. We launched our agentic IDE and skill system and collaboration platform, and there's like a lean towards like building blocks for the software factory. I think the thing that we think about this is like, yeah, software engineering is still important, and actually even the people who are doing a lot of specification and caring about the system architecture might not be doing enough. We can get into that, but basically like the software factory has a missing piece. The lights off loop where you just write specs and tickets and tell people what you want your users to do, what you want the behavior to be in your app, is not enough. If you just put that in and you let the model verify everything and you have AI code review and then you put that into prod and then you take all the support tickets and all of the metrics and all of the crashes and you feed those back into agents and you just do this like loop where all humans do is read and write tickets and everything else is self-driving. I think what we've seen in companies of many different sizes is this is the fastest way to trash your code base. And now there is a time and a place for vibe coding. If you are a 0 to 1 founder, if you're doing a side project that 12 people will use this, Adios Mini talked about this in his post last week.
Yeah.
Great. But if you have high stakes and you work in an industry perhaps where you're going to get fined millions of dollars if the code is wrong, then dear God, please read it because it's, yeah. Go ahead.
So on the topic of reading code, so we're going to AI Engineer World's Fair. So Wolfram's going to be there. I'm going to be there. I'm assuming we'll
Amazing.
see you as well.
Oh yeah, dude. I'll see you there. I'll see you at the speaker dinner. If you're here next week, there's we're doing a little pre-party for speakers. But
nice. And so my talk is going to be about the ZL Continue, which you helped me dub. Like when I came back from AI Engineer in London, the whole conversation there was, as far as I remember, from one side, Ryan Lopopolo from OpenAI, the guy was like, let's YOLO Popolo, we call him. Like, let's YOLO into code. 1 billion tokens a day is, it's just the beginning. We're all and there's nobody gonna be able to read that code because, like, how much, there's so much code you can read a day, and 1 billion tokens is a lot of code. And on the other side, we had Mario Zechner from Pi. Also, I think those are now the 6th and the 7th most watch talks from AI Engineer globally that talks about read every line of critical code. Obviously, Mario, I think, mentioned you a couple times. I think you were on his shirt, I believe, as part of the.
I did. I donated to the charity so that he would put my name on.
You showed
I just wanted him to say no dumb zone. I actually didn't know he was going to put my name on there, but we'll take it.
So and the whole conversation there was about this kind of like thing that I later identified as ZL Continue, where maybe it's not per person, maybe it's per task, but there is a range of folks who are like YOLOing completely versus folks who are let's read the code. Like, we don't want to get bugs in our system. Obviously, we know what side you are on, but tell me how. Literally, tell me how it's possible when folks are like YOLOing 1 billion tokens a day. Like, who's going to read this code? Isn't a human review on the PR now is the biggest bottleneck that we have?
I mean, Mario has put it pretty well. Is like, I think we need to slow down. I won't use his exact colorful language, but everything is breaking. And I think a lot of teams are trying to go 10x faster, 100x faster. If you really think about it, if you could go 2 to 3x faster and maintain your current level of quality, that would be game changing. That would transform every single company on the planet, every single team on the planet. And people are so busy trying to get to this 10x, 100x level that they haven't learned to like drive in third gear first before they're like on the highway crashing into stuff.
Look, I don't want to call out like specific things, but I will say that OpenClaw, I think, is a very good example of full, complete autonomy, like YOLO all the code, barely read it from folks. Because OpenClaw, I loved OpenClaw. I loved like the agentic era it put me in. And then I was not able to use this at all. I was public with this, right? I talked with Vincent about this as well. Vincent Coe mentioned this to Peter. I believe, Wolfram, you mentioned this to Peter at some point.
In London.
Yeah, and I got to wonder.
I had full hair in January when I started with OpenClaw. And look at me now after all the crashing after updates.
and I gotta wonder if that's like the symptom of like what you guys are talking about, Dex, as well, because companies.
Listen, I love Peter. If anyone's going to figure out how to pull this off, it's Peter. For the record, like I do believe that like he is far and away much more advanced than almost everybody in AI coding right now.
Yeah.
And so if someone could pull it off, it's him. And there is this thesis that like, hey, we're going to do stuff. The problems of today's GPT models will be solved by GPT-7. maybe that's true. I would hope that's true. Who knows when that model's coming out? And in the meantime, like, we have to figure out how to keep systems reliable and standing.
So how do we keep systems reliable and standing, Dexter? Give me like a very quick TLDR and what folks are to expect at the human layers, like new idea.
Yeah. I mean, if you take one word away, it's leverage. You can write a PRD that is very complex and give it to Codex Goal and spit out 10,000 lines of code. I am by no means saying that you should read all that code. I don't think that's a good way to build software. And before AI, many engineers would post, like, basically, like, if you send me a PR that's more than 300 lines, I'm telling you to go back and break it up and, like, do the engineering work of breaking this down into smaller problems that can be merged individually, because it's just not safe. And, like, chucking it over the wall to some senior engineer who's going to have to, like, fix it in prod if it breaks, or at least, like, going to be held accountable when you have to go spend hours going and fixing it and redoing it, is just not, it's just a little bit irresponsible. And so my basic advice is, like, find ways to get leverage, find ways to correct the model from the 50,000 foot view and re-steer, find ways to do a lower level spec at the 25,000 foot view, maybe even go into the program design, not just the system architecture, but the program design. How are we designing the interfaces, where the test seams? Matt Pocock talks about this a lot. How is the dependency injection working? Because we've found over and over again, ourselves and with our customers, you can write a really good architecture spec and you'd be like, look, I've put in my time. I've done my engineering. I've designed the system. I made sure the endpoints are right. This is scalable. The core algorithms have been identified correctly and the model knows how to implement them. And then you go look at the code and it's still trash because the model's like, so we're constantly zooming in. And the goal is not to have a perfect spec, because a perfect spec is indistinguishable from code. I forget which Haskell person posted this or whatever it is.
Map is not the territory for sure, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like, okay, at a certain point, you're not going to get the spec perfect, and you shouldn't try. You should get it 80% right. You should maximize the chance that when you zoom down another level, the chunk you're digesting at that level and steering and moving is human consumable, and that it's close enough that you can re-steer without having to zoom all the way back out and change the whole approach.
I'm left wondering, kind of like, how long are we in this era for? Given that Fable came out very quickly as a blimp, and Anthropic literally said, hey, with Fable level models, with Mythos level models, we're switching from checking the outputs of the work to checking whether or not the right work is being done. And I would love your thoughts on this as well, because from one side, Anthropic does suffer from maybe too much AI in their code base, because we saw their uptime light up as a Christmas tree. We saw a bunch of stuff.
You said it, not me.
No, it's very clear. But also from the other side, they're if you look at companies to identify what the companies are there for, they're for to move capital in the world. There's maybe 5 companies like Anthropic that were able to pull off what they pulled off in terms of how much capital they moved in the world, given that that's what they deliver, right? So, like, Anthropic is answering the call of what a company should do, while also, like, sending up, some call them the Flickr company, some call them whatever, resetting code. We famously talked about multiple times where Claude became dumber and nobody knows why, and and they discovered
someone made a dashboard of it, right? You could look throughout the day when the degradations happened.
Yes,
I think they did for sonnet models.
And they have access to kind of obviously the best models. Now for nationals don't have access to the best models, but we talked about this already on the show. And I gotta wonder how the curve kind of looks. So would love to also ask you how the curve kind of looks. I think you opened your one of your essays about, like, you can't predict, like, the GPT-7 like levels or Fable level, but like Fable, I'm assuming you played with.
I played with Fable. Do you remember what Rahul from Ramp said about Fable? I think it was yesterday or Tuesday.
Yeah.
Remember what he opened with?
I don't remember what he opened with, so remind me. I remember his post. I think I have it here.
Yeah, it's a very good post, and I agree with almost everything in there. But the first point he made that I take a lot of issue with, and I love Rahul, like I said, it's great. It's a great essay, short, easy. But like you got it. Yeah, as a mental model, Fable class model is the first model that can take English and compile it into code, and the code will be correct. That was not my experience, let's just say. I tried it on a couple refactoring tasks. I tried it on a couple greenfield projects. I tried it on a couple like, hey, build this big feature. It was the closest I've ever been to, I remember in May of last year when I first figured out how to like spin up 4 tmux sessions and have a merger agent on main and 3 workers on every branch. And the merger is like checking the branch progress and merging in from the work. This thing I saw XJDR doing on Twitter, like, in maybe like March. I figured it out in May and I was like, holy shit. This was, in retrospect, it was the closest I've ever been to AI psychosis, where I was just like, I need to be up. I need to be constantly prompting these things. We need to just keep them going. And then eventually you cool off and you realize, okay, maybe this doesn't scale. The models, we have to be a little more in the loop. When Fable came out, I was running my laptop around the clock for the first time in a long time, where I would literally, it was like 11 p.m. and I had like 7 prompts queued up. And I was like explaining to my partner, I was like, look, my laptop's going to be open because I need to run Fable overnight. So just if you come out in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and the laptop's open, just please leave it open. Don't touch it. And I hadn't been there in like a year. So like I was very excited. I tried all kinds of stuff. And I just found it had a lot of the same problems that GPT and Opus have, which is like not very good at code quality, not a good sense for refact. I gave it this big like 8K React PR, which it's for when I just naively prompted, here's what I want it to be, and here's what the refactoring I want. The first pass was terrible. It was bad. It introduced like React context, introduced all these things that we didn't need, that we don't use, that we had better patterns for. And so I'm like, cool, this is much better, but it's not the step change that means that you can let go of the reins. We're not there yet. That's my take.
I got you. Dexter, I asked you this in a comment, and then we'll ask you this on air, and I would love like an honest answer. Why does it matter? Why does code quality matter? Why does unmaintainability of code matters if you take into account that Fable comes out and in 6 months Fable 5.1 or 5.2 comes out, whatever, and in a year we're going to be as far from where we are right now as we are right now from a year ago, which a year ago nothing agentic basically were able to happen at all, and models were not having like 1 million context windows, barely, maybe Gemini, and Gemini is not a useful thing. Given that the whole thing advances as fast, and code quality, why does code quality still matter, and does it?
Yeah, I mean, the code quality matters now just for the same reason it mattered 10 years ago and 20 years ago. And we had the great software crisis of the 1970s, and a bunch of really smart people had to get together and invent the field of software engineering and program design. And the problem is like the more you put code into your code base, whether it's human or AI written, without thinking about the structure, the faster it becomes unmaintainable. And by unmaintainable, I mean it's slower to make new changes. It's much harder to change code over here without breaking something over here. And you start spending more and more of your time trudging through complex changes. You spend more and more of your time like, oh, we fixed this, but we broke that. And your velocity just tanks. And if you design code bases really, really well, you've seen this for like the projects that the irony is we train models on projects that have not made this mistake. All of the SweBench like metric are Django, Redis, I think they do Spring for Java on SweBench multilingual. Like there's all these projects that have really good architecture, but somehow the way we're RLing them to solve problems, and like they're basically somehow still reward hacking around just make the test pass. And we never make these model. And I'm going to talk about this at AI Engineer as well. It's like we have not yet achieved a like penalty function for writing code that makes the code harder to maintain. And it's really hard to write a judge or a verifier for that.
Yeah.
I think humans are still needed for this.
Humans are still needed, but given that maintenance will also be handed off to models, is the size of maintenance also important? Like I'm thinking about this. We have, let's say, unlimited tokens on lower quality models. Fable is obviously very expensive, so you're not going to run Fable continuously on every like bug, maybe unless you're in Anthropic. But given that like most of the maintenance now is a prompt away, is velocity going upwards not better than just getting stuck in review of humans? I'm trying to see if I mentioned the problem statement correctly or not.
You still have to know what prompt to give. And a lot of times, like whatever, I know I said spec-driven development is a bad term because it means 100 things to 100 different people. But like when you're building specs, you're basically building a prompt for the next session to go implement it, right? And you have to know what to prompt for. A really good engineer who has really good sense of code quality and all this stuff can get Fable to write really high quality code. I did, but I had to tell it exactly what I wanted. And like, it's a lot easier to do that before you start writing the code than afterwards. And like, my take is basically you spend an hour reviewing specs and architecture and even going down to the level of program design, which is, I think, a new term that's going to become popular. You can turn a 3-hour code review that has a lot of changes required to a 20-minute code review because it only needs, we got to move this variable name and move this file, but I've gotten to enough detail ahead of time. Instead of 6 hours of reviewing and fixing stuff, I do an hour up front of prep, and then I have a 20-minute code review. So I don't know if that answers your question, but like that's the shape of, I think, what we need to do today until either the models get smarter or we get better at training them to actually be good at it. Like basically like task specific RL on like improving code quality and making things better separated and easier to maintain.
I have one last question for you, Dex. How is human layer now helping with the problems that we just described? I think let's land there.
All right, I hate pitching on air, but we did launch yesterday, so I will humor you. Like I said, I believe the missing piece of the software factory that will allow you to get to 2 to 3x like overall throughput is actually moving a little bit more slowly and building really good systems for humans to collaborate in real time on the design of software before and while it's being written. I think the pull request is going to die. I think everyone's betting on that. We need more synchronous like ways to collaborate on code and keep everybody on the same page and do that high leverage work together. And I think leveraging AI to do that is a space that is still untapped. Lots of labs, Cognition Factory, like Anthropic, lots of people are like moving in this direction. We are obsessed with this problem, is how do we get AI to solve hard problems in complex code bases, giving the maximum, like finding the exact high leverage points to put humans in the loop and letting the models do what they're good at, which is reading hundreds of thousands of lines of code and understanding them. That problem is solved. We're very good at that. And taking a well-written spec and going and ripping it out and implementing it, like those two things are really, there's this piece in the middle of like deciding what we're going to build and how we're going to build it. And so how do we get the way you get the most speed is you seek leverage. What are the highest leverage points to insert humans into workflows? Alrighty,
folks, definitely check out the new human layer and Dex's talk at AI Engineer, my talk at AI Engineer, Wolfen's talk. My talk is going to mention you and kind of the stuff that you're doing, obviously, because I'm talking about the ZL Continuum. But definitely check out Human Layer. We have to move on, Dex, because we have this incredibly surprise. You feel free to stick with us, by the way, for this last segment, because everybody's back on stage, including a friend of the pod, Tanish Gabriel. Welcome, Tanish, back to the show. You're also a friend of the pod. I've been here for a few times already, back when we did Spaces. And the reason why I invited you, Tanish, is because yesterday an AI company did something interestingly novel. They decided to announce a hardware product, and we're not talking about OpenAI and Johnny Ive. We're talking about Midjourney and David Holtz. And you were there in the audience, right, Tanish? Is that correct?
Yeah, I was there. I was attending right in the front row. I guess you could have seen. It was a fun event. Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about Midjourney's crazy announcement. I expected them to do something with, I don't know, image generation, because that's what Midjourney does. But no, David Holtz from Midjourney announced a full body ultrasound machine, and that's kind of crazy. Tanish, do you want to talk about this a little bit? Were you surprised at all? Like, what's with AI companies launching hardware? Like, is this going to be a new thing? Midjourney, by the way, is fully self-funded. There's no VC money, and they're like very, very well, performing very well. So this is like a very interesting thing. So let's talk about what the actual specs are. This is crazy.
Yeah, no, I just kind of generally I think this is like a very impressive effort from Midjourney, and because Midjourney is a very unique company that they're able to do this. And yeah, like David Holtz has been interested in medical imaging for quite some time. Like he tweeted that he wants to start a medical imaging lab like 2 years ago. And I don't think many people noticed that. But yeah, this is just like his interest, and because Midjourney is fully self-funded and they have the revenue to support it, for a variety of different projects. And so this is one of the projects that they're exploring. But yeah, they have like a few other hardware projects that they haven't announced yet. But David was teasing that at the beginning of the event as well. But yeah, I mean, this one is a pretty impressive. It's basically full body kind of scanning using ultrasound rather than like MRI or CT, which CT has its limitations. It's using X-ray radiation. MRI has its limitations as well. It uses these magnets, these expensive, huge magnets. They're it's a very large system, and you have to to do a whole body scan, you have to be there in the scanner for quite some time. And this is like something where you can apparently get scanned in just 60 seconds. So you can get like a full body scan in like 60 seconds. So the way it works, I mean, it works similarly to like something like CT, where you have a variety of different transmitters and receivers across the entire entire ring. Although you are combining the transmitter and receiver into a single sensor, like it's called transducer, an ultrasonic transducer. The one thing is that because sound isn't able to propagate well in air, what they do is they actually have a tank of water that you are actually lowered into. So that way that's the sound can more easily propagate through water, and then it can propagate into your body. And so that's the one difference that it makes it a little bit interesting. And it could be treated as a pro, it could be treated as a con, depending on how you view it. But yeah, you basically are being lowered into this tank of water while you're being scanned, and then once you're done with the scan, then you are brought back up. And so
we're seeing this. Tony, sorry for interrupting. We're seeing this on the kind of the graphics that I think David also created on himself, like a crazy person. We're seeing. One second. We're seeing like a layer that they scan, like a piece every like second or so. The sound travels. I just want to add some numbers. The sound travels to your body at 1,481 meters per second, and under 60 seconds you can get a full 3D anatomical map of 25 plus organs. The raw data per scan is 806 terabytes. And it's scanning at like 16 gigs per second. So every second sends like 16 gigs of data that they need to then condense down to something. This is insane, specifically because David Holtz said there, and I remember I saw the live as well. So I went there in person, but like I was able to catch some of it. He's mentioning that like compared to MRIs, which is also insanely expensive, there's a whole superconductor thing that needs to run within an MRI machine. Like MRI is like a very expensive. He's like, this is essentially the price of a scan is free compared to an MRI, right? Like the machine and the business model around it is something. And the business model they announced is also like very interesting with the spa in San Francisco, 26,000 square feet spa. That part of it is going to be the scans, part of it is going to be the spa. But this is absolutely, this is like one of those, the reason why we're talking about this and this not being AI here on the show is because this is the future we want. We want, and this is powered by AI, and also this data means also AI, right? At some point, based on all this data, we don't know what advances in medical examination we can get when the person can get scanned, a full body scan every minute of their day, basically, right? And this allows this. Listen, thoughts on this? Would love to hear as well.
Yeah, I have a question for Tanishka. Everybody else that I'm wondering, do you guys think do you think they're doing diffusion generation for each one? I remember the past experiments trying to guess the image based on the MRI scan. Do you think they're doing some type of diffusion here? And then how would you train that? Would you like grab a CT scan, grab the slices from that, and then get the data from this and try to match it?
No, there isn't any AI actually in the actual generation of the images. It's a pretty like basic signal processing algorithms that they're using right now, and that's something that they're they have like really basic algorithms that they are like trying to come up with more sophisticated approaches of reconstructing it, looking at also like they have to look at the physics, and they're developing physics simulators and all these sorts of things to actually basically get more accurate reconstructions. But that's like some of again, this is like just a prototype of what they're doing, and so they're still like so much more that they can explore here. So yeah, they haven't even touched like using AI to help at all for reconstruction. Like there are probably ways to use AI too. And like I was listening to a conversation with like one of the imaging scientists, like because like all the scientists were there at the event, and there's a conversation between one of the imaging scientists and John Barron, who's one of the inventors of like neural fields and like nerves, and they were like trying to figure out like, are there ways to utilize nerves or similar sorts of things for reconstructing these sorts of images. So I'm sure there's probably going to be ways down the line where you can utilize more sophisticated AI-based approaches for reconstruction, but right now it's really basic.
And even with this like fairly basic thing, I think the benefits are incredible. Obviously, not quite to MRI level, but a non-radiation, no magnets, no speed MRI is quite crazy on its own. So I'm like, I feel excited about this. Desh, you want to talk about the kind of how the like the scale they want is that with I think 50,000 scanner fleet, targeting 1 billion scans a month. They basically want to scan and allow like everybody in the world to get scanned. Like, what are the benefits of something like this? What are the type of stuff that can get caught by something like this? And generally, regular people cannot afford like a full body MRI. I think once a year even. David Starr, I think he's saying like it's if you get to a level of wealth above some point, you should get a full body MRI scan like every year or something. What are the benefits of like a full body scan? What type of stuff can be caught that cannot be caught like otherwise?
Yeah, I mean, I think the main, of course, sort of thing here is the fact that you can do this full body scan very quickly, and you can do it like without you can just do it as many times as you want. So being able to track the progress of your body over time is actually something that is a lot more achievable with this technology than with MRI. And yeah, I mean, I think you're looking at like just differences in the tissue and in tissue density and things like this. So I mean, if you think about like what ultrasound is already being used for, and just kind of extrapolate based on that. So there are things like for like looking at cancer, looking at inflammation, looking at all these sorts of things that you can people are already exploring using ultrasound for, but like in a very limited case. But now you can expand this to everyone and being able to kind of get scanned. Anyone can get scanned, and so it's like this could enable early diagnosis of these sorts of things. If there is some sort of like lump or something that is you can notice in the ultrasound scanner that you may have not noticed if you waited until something felt wrong and to go to a doctor. So I think that's the advantage. But yeah, I mean, it's not obviously it's not without limitations. Ultrasound, there's certain things ultrasound just can't see. For example, like it would be very hard with the CART iteration to image the brain, for example, or something like that, right? So there are certain things that just cannot be seen. Like again, also like looking at the lung is also difficult because the lung is full of air, and sound doesn't propagate through air very well. So there, it's not that it can do everything, but and it's not going to be like a full replacement of MRI. But the fact that you're able to do these scans like as many times as you want, that's I think a big thing. And I think there's like a lot of debate, within the medical community if this is a good thing, and I think it is a good thing. But we'll see. Also, I think especially when you start powering this with like AI algorithms to actually monitor your health, I think this can be really beneficial.
Yeah, I think it's a complete game changer, given that in a lot of places the wait list to even like get an MRI can be like a year something. So if they can get the scan down to $20 or $50, and maybe you have some bowel problems or you have cancer and stuff, you can take that data and you can start to track it very precisely over time. If you can just go and do one every week or so, it's insane how much this can improve. And I'm wondering if they can just get around the medical device requirements and just put it as a wellness thing, because you can still get the data, which is also wonderful because it just gets it to people a lot faster.
So I think the cool thing there is that they are engaging with the FDA, but also they said that they're going to open a spa, a 24,000 square feet spa, 10 minutes away from Union Center in downtown. Going to place like 10 of these machines. You're going to be able to go there. Dex will be able to hang out there, talk about code. And then one was like, oh, hold on 1 second. I need to pop out and like scan my full body real quick with ultrasound and come back. And then you have 890 terabytes of data or whatever sent to you as well. So I think that's going to be very, very cool. And I think the highlight there is that they're going to they're mentioning like MRI is like a full process. You like Nissan, you said like the lines are a year ahead, and it bangs there like it sounds of headshots or whatever. Like it's very loud. You have to lie very still, so you cannot put kids in the MRI, for example, because they move all the time, and you lie there for a long time, and it's scary, and it's not productive, and it's like radiation for CT scans. This is a 10-minute, as easy as going to the gym type scan. I think Tanish, does that summarize kind of like the ambition there? They wanted like incredible things.
Yeah, I think it's the idea is to make this as pleasant of an experience as possible, as opposed to how it feels to go to a doctor's office and how it feels to try to get an MRI scan. So this is supposed to be the complete opposite. So yeah.
I'm fully down for this. The other thing they mentioned is that ultrasound is incredible, and we haven't even gotten close to realizing how incredible this is, including actual like therapeutic usage of very highly directed ultrasound waves that can like do incredible things to the body, which they're not going to, but they can because the scanner is overspec. LDJ, last comment, and we'll move past towards like landing this plane.
Yeah, I think it is really exciting that there is the future applications of actually already today over the past 5 years, there has already been trials with some success of people with severe depressions and addiction being successfully treated with actually focused ultrasound in the brain in specific regions. It's not 100% foolproof. It's not without any side effects at all, but it is increasingly getting more accurate, getting assisted by better algorithms. And I think it is going to be really exciting as they do start to apply AI to filtering out a lot of that noise. And they said end of 2027 for the spa in San Francisco, and 2028 for a full revamp of custom imaging, custom sensors, and everything. And that'll be super exciting.
Definitely very exciting future. And folks, this is what we bring you here about AI, but not only. And I think it's very interesting that an AI company decides this. So shout out to David Holtz and the whole Midjourney team. Tanish, thank you for joining us and giving us a little bit of a glimpse. I know you have to jump very, very soon. Folks, I think it's time for us to land this plane. The few things we haven't talked about yet is the two video image models that launched. Grok launched Grok Imagine 1.5, and so I'll show you this very quickly here. And the other one is Google's Omni, which we talked shortly after Google I/O, has also launched an API. And just after I show you this Grok Imagine thing, this is my prompt for an astronaut riding a horse on the moon. I don't know if you can hear the music, but it generates music. It's natively multimodal, and it looks pretty cool. Physics looks on par with everything. And let me see, Arena image video to image model. Google Omni jumped to the top of the charts. So this is artificial analysis, not Arena. Let me show you here. Video Arena image to video leaderboard. So on artificial analysis, they don't have Omni yet, looks like, but I think on Arena AI, Arena.ai, Google Omni is now the top by quite a while. So let me pull that up here. Image, video, image to video, text to video. Let's do text to video. So Omni Flash is now the number one ranked image to video, text to video on the Arena leaderboard with quite a jump here, with almost 100-point jump. So Omni Flash now beats everything else, including C-Dance, which used to be the top one. Just giving you a quick update before we drop. Dexter Horthy, founder of Human Layers, thank you so much for joining. Tanish Gabram, founder of Sofont AI, also a friend of the pod, was here to talk about the newly launched Midjourney. We also had two other co-founders of Weights and Biases. Co-founder of Weights and Biases and early engineer, the Adrian Sonberg, talk about Weights and Biases Hive Mind. And very exciting week, folks. We're still waiting for Fable to come back, but otherwise very excited with a bunch of open source. Thank you so much for joining. If you missed any part of the show, ThursdAI is available for you as a podcast, as a newsletter. Everywhere you get your podcast, just search for ThursdAI. If you are following us on one source, why not check out the other one? If you're reading the newsletter, why not check out our shorts on YouTube? And if you are on YouTube, why not check out the newsletter as well? With that, Wolfram Ravenwolf, thank you so much. Nistan Tahiri, LDJ, and Jan Peleg was here for a bit as well. We'll check next week if we get Fable, and we'll definitely see you here next week, folks. Cheers, everyone. Just a reminder, the next place where you can meet us in real space is AI Engineer World's Fair. Wolfman's going to be there. I'm going to be there. Weights and Biases CoreWeave is sponsoring the whole event. So if you are coming to AI Engineer, please chat with us. Would love to see you there. Cheers, everyone. Thank you so much for joining ThursdAI for this week. And we'll see you here next week. Bye-bye, everyone.